Hello, I'm back. Penny here with a follow-up to my last email. You can tell how much I've been working these days. This is a follow-up to my last email. No, with a follow-up to my last video where I unboxed the glorious 15450. And at the end of that video, I mentioned that in my trusty little notes, I had some observations, some lessons learned from watch collecting. So I want to go ahead and share those now. It was going to make that video too long, I think, to add that in. And my wife was giving me the timeout signal, like, okay, you've talked enough, let's go. So now I want to kind of, it's Sunday morning, got my coffee right here. This is from Cranky Mugs, by the way. I don't think it's a company that still exists, but we love these funny little sayings on these mugs. Anyway, I want to share some observations or lessons learned on the watch collecting journey. Obviously, I'm not a seasoned collector in that I've only been doing this for 3.5, almost 4 years. So, take it with a grain of salt. These are things that I've learned. This is more for me to talk out my process. So that when I look back on this, I'll see how far I've come and what I've continued to learn. But if you happen to take something from this video, that's great. Please share in the comments, what are your 6 or so, 3, 6, whatever, what lessons have you learned on your watch collecting journey? Everybody's journey is obviously different. We're here to support each other, and it's a fantastic community. But everybody has different insights and different experiences. So I'm going to share what I've been learning in this journey so far. And I would love to hear what you guys have learned, the wisdom, okay? So what have I learned? Number one, my first lesson was a hard lesson to learn, and I still haven't fully absorbed it, and I don't practice this, but it's patience. I'm not a very patient person in most aspects of my life. If I want something, it's like, let's figure out how to do this. How fast can we get it? Let's go, go, go. That is how I'm wired as a person. But my Rolex AD, the very first time I was trying to get a GMT, I learned from him right away not to go buy all these other things. Again, I still haven't fully absorbed these lessons. But because he didn't get to me right away, I have had to relearn and continue to learn this lesson of patience, where he said, you got to be patient, work with me, let's just hold on. And so that's a constant lesson that I'm trying to learn and embrace and relearn. But number one is patience from the Rolex AD. Number two from the Rolex AD, this was the second thing I learned, never sell Rolex. Again, I keep saying I have the keeper's mentality when it comes to watches. I think that has definitely changed. As you can see, I have sold watches, especially this year. The Tudor, the IWC, the Speedmaster Trilogy, because of how my attachments had changed and because of how the collection was shaping up and because of the size, of just having too many watches. So, but I can say that even if I don't fully have the keeper's mentality, I do emotionally attach to watches. It is real for me. I connect and I don't want to get rid of them. So I have learned to, even if I sell some watches, I don't want to sell Rolex. It's a pain in the butt to reacquire them. I enjoy them. That's my number 2 rule. Don't sell Rolex. I'll probably try to rebuy it. It'll probably be more expensive to rebuy it than it was when I sold it. And often, guys, I take a loss when I have sold watches, even on Rolex, on my Milgauss that I sold. I took a loss because I sell to brick and mortar stores, and there's always an upcharge there. So it's just painful. Number 2, never sell watches, or never sell Rolex if you can help it. That's my personal lesson for me. These are the lessons that I'm learning. Number 3, this is a big one, and I'm learning this in so many ways. Okay, guys, so the wait list. You may tell your AD, I want to be on the list for this, whether it's AP, I want to be on the wish list or the wait list, whether it's Rolex, please consider me for this watch or that watch. The very big lesson that I'm learning, and this is me, is number 3, don't inquire about a watch until you have the money. So that might go without saying for many people, But in my experience, I thought if it takes a year to get a watch, if it's going to take a year to get a Royal Oak, or 2 years, if that's the average wait list, then I got time to save. I just want to put my name out there, and now I'll use it as a goal to keep saving. Well, in my experience, things happen a lot faster than that. Even with Rolex, you inquire about a watch, chances are you're going to get it a lot sooner than you think, or at least in my case. So like the root beer, I put out there to the AD, basically next year, in the next 6 months to a year, I would love to get a root beer. What I told him is I want a Daytona, but he made me tell him some other choices. And so I told him, okay, a root beer or a bluesy. And the thing is I got called the next week, hey, come get this root beer. So it wasn't in the plan for me to buy it right now. I'm trying to project, trying to plan the collection far out and trying to save. But now, from now on, guys, I am not going to be telling ADs or connections at boutiques or whatever that I want anything until I know we have the cash saved, and we have to replenish our watch fund. So it's going to take a while. But you all should consider this too. If you're using that strategy of get on a list and continue to save, express interest and save during the time that you're waiting, you might need to break into the savings or do something else in order to get that money if you get called sooner, or you're going to probably look bad to the AD or whoever, and they may not call you the next time. In my case, even though I have not been ready sometimes when they've called me, it doesn't fully backfire. They still have continued to work with me. If I say, ooh, I need more time, or like I did with the root beer, you're going to have to come around to me. But it's not a good feeling. You want to be ready if you're going to express interest, even if you're going to put your name on a list, and even if you think it's going to take a while. For me, I'm not doing that anymore. I will expect that once I tell them, it's going to happen fast. Things move a lot faster than I expected. Number four, this is another lesson I've learned for me, is don't tick boxes in designing your watch collection. So that means, like, for me, when I started out, I thought, oh, I need a chronograph, I need a diver, I need this, a dress watch. You start to hear, what's the perfect collection, the 5-piece collection, the 3-piece collection. And the community will suggest similar things, honestly, similar criteria. Everybody will tell you it doesn't necessarily have to apply to you. And in my case, I was trying to go for coverage. I was trying to get a lot of brand diversity. I like Speedmasters, maybe get a couple of those, the IWC. I had plans to get El Primero. I wanted to have a nice spread, a representative spread of the industry, and really kind of the icon pieces. But the thing is I wasn't attaching exactly to those watches the way I was attaching to Rolex and loving Rolex. So at a certain point, that's partly why my collection changed in this last little run here, is that I realized I like Rolex. I want more Rolex. And now the door is really open to loving AP and figuring out where that's going to take me. But I no longer feel the pressure to have what other people would consider a well-rounded collection or a diverse collection. I just need options that speak to me. When I look in the watch box or the watch roll, I want to know that I have options depending on my mood or my lifestyle to choose from, or whatever my month is going to bring. I want to have options, but it doesn't mean, it's not the same as ticking boxes saying I have this category covered, I have that category covered, or I have this spread of brands, Omega, Tudor, etc. You know what? You have to figure it out for yourself. And for me, lesson number 4 is give that up. No ticking boxes. Number 5, this is also a hard one to learn. The 5th lesson I've learned is this is a lifelong process, guys. Your girl said not so long ago, I'm done when I hit 10 watches. That's it. I'm done with the collecting game. I don't want to be in collecting forever. You know what, guys? I'm coming to the slow and painful realization that it's probably cyclical. This is probably always going to be an interest of mine. And like other hobbies that I have, I play a musical instrument. I'm into gardening, indoor gardening, plant care to an extent. I have a bunch of hobbies and interests, but they're cyclical. They come and they go. They're probably with me forever. Lego, we love building Lego and collecting that. But it ebbs and flows, and I think watch collecting is going to be like that for life, that you're always going to have a fascination for it, sometimes more intense than others, but I don't think this is a one and done. You hit your mark, you hit your milestone. I think actually with collecting, It never ends. But how you approach it and how intense you allow it to get can certainly be up to you and in your control. But I now feel like, you know what, this is a lifelong process. It's a lifelong journey. I still don't want a large collection, not at all, but I don't think the collecting phase is going to end. And that is actually very sobering to me because I want it to be over. Let me enjoy the collection. You have to enjoy it where you are. But the wisdom seems to be, you know what? When I'm in my 50s, when I'm in my 60s, when I'm in my 70s, I'm probably going to have the bug there, the itch or the interest in watches. And, no matter what I'm doing, I'm probably going to be adjusting or selling or keeping or whatever the collection for life. And that's just something that I have to accept. It can't get over and through this necessarily. Lifelong journey, number 5. Number 6, this is my final lesson so far that I have learned is, oh my gosh, the community is incredible. People say that, the watch community is fantastic. There are some downsides to it, some trolls or some negativity that can be there. But by and large, guys, both my wife and I, but especially me, because I'm the much more extroverted person, I have found like this is just a dimension of my life that I didn't even know was possible in terms of social connection. I have a lot of friends in, the non-watch world, and socially I'm generally a pretty satisfied and social person. But with the pandemic especially, we've had extreme isolation, like a lot of people, quarantine, lockdown, working from home. It's been tough socially. You're not doing a lot of the things you would normally do. I'm not even seeing people or family. I haven't seen my family. I would have definitely made a trip or two to go home in the last year. I haven't seen that. So I just want to sort of speak to the social deprivation that this time period in this world that a lot of us are experiencing and living through, and how the watch community has been a haven. The excitement, the enjoyment, the supporting, the cheering us on, when you buy a new watch. When I was unboxing this, the outpour of support, even before, because I can't keep a secret, I've been talking about the AP for a few days. Even before I posted the video, people have known on the forums that it was coming and in the chats and stuff. And just getting that encouragement, that feedback, that applause, that positivity has been incredible. But more important than that, just talking to people and having a whole nother set of people that I would love to meet someday in real life offline. It really has compensated for the fact that this has been such a lonely time and a stressful time for so many of us. So the community, I don't know if it's a lesson learned, but it's a big upside, is that the community is so incredible. Every night there's content to watch or people to engage. I don't want to even think of it as content, like these videos are content. It's people. It's people that you are connecting with, telling stories with, sharing aspirations with, sharing successes and failures in the watch journey with, but also sharing your life with and talking about real deal things that are happening. And that has been incredible with the women collectors, the few that I've met, and then with all the dudes, who have been so welcoming and embracing. And I have to speak to the racial, gender, political side and divisiveness that exists in our society, and especially in the US, but I think everywhere, that this is hobbies like this. It's not so much that I have a utopian view that we can overcome everything if we can have one common ground, but it does help a little bit, right? That I know some of us have different views and are definitely different people, but sometimes that does come to a head in the chats and stuff in the watch community. But more often than not, you actually have people with very different backgrounds and beliefs still coming together. And I wouldn't even know some of these guys at all in other aspects of my life, just because we're so different and we don't have the same social networks. I'm really impressed by that factor, not only how large and welcoming and exciting the community is, but the fact that we are all really different, and in other aspects of our lives, we might come head to head. But the fact that I could get to know someone who has a polarizing take, a totally different view on life and society than me, but I'm still very curious and generous, with my time and interest in that person. That to me is hopeful. That to me is a recipe for whether you talk about politics and or anything at all. It's still a way for people to connect, and you can't really conquer the challenges in this world and in this life if you're not able to connect as people. So in a really powerful spiritual, whatever, metaphysical way, to me, the community has just been a blessing. It's been incredible during a really tough time. And there's the surprise of, wow, we're all around the world and so different. And, you know, sometimes in isolation, we would find each other more than annoying. We would find each other offensive. Yet around these objects, these beautiful, complicated objects, we have found ways to come together. And I might have been more cynical about that, you know, before the pandemic, like, that doesn't matter. That's superficial. You're just ignoring your differences. No, you're working through and around them in order to still have community. And guys, that has been incredible. That's been a huge lesson, a life lesson, I think, that I have learned. And it's inspiring. So yeah, those are my 6 lessons. Patience, never sell Rolex. Don't inquire about a watch if you don't have the money, period. Don't tick boxes. It probably doesn't work. Number 5, this is a lifelong process. And number 6, the community is boss and surprising and a really welcome addition to my life. And I know my wife is happy too about the connectivity that we've had. All right, guys, thank you. Those are my lessons. What have you learned about the hobby? Do you have any wisdom to share? Let me know. I'm still learning and growing, of course, and I think we're all doing that with each other. Peace.